not all in a food coma right now. So thank you all for the wonderful lunch too. It was very delicious. So today we're going to be talking about social media. It can be kind of intimidating to some nonprofits. All of us here wear a million different hats, and social media can be one that sometimes gets pushed to the back burner. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of social media and the importance in communicating with your donors and supporters through social media. So a little bit about me. They've read my bio, and so pretty much summed up everything there, except for the adorable picture. I'm from the Humane Society, so of course I have to show off my cat. So that's my cat Herbie that I adopted from the Humane Society. And I've been in the marketing industry for now over 15 years, started in newspapers and then shifted from there to the nonprofit sector. So the Humane Society is my second nonprofit. Before that I was in a healthcare nonprofit doing marketing and everything for them as well. So when you think about social media, you might think about memes and communicating with your family and funny cat videos and all of that stuff. But it's a lot more, especially when talking about your nonprofit and talking about donors. It can be critical for your fundraising and communicating, and also it can develop trust with your audience. And we're gonna highlight a few different things with that later on to kind of show you, I call them passive bragging. So the things when you're not asking for money, asking for support, but building that trust with your donor base. It can also motivate people to action. Those compelling stories, bragging about what you're doing and how to really tug on the heartstrings of your nonprofit or of your donor base for your nonprofit. And then also, they were talking about earlier, direct messaging. We get tons of direct messages at the Humane Society, both through Facebook and through Instagram. It is another customer service and support for our community. So it kind of gives them that quick access that they're looking for. So raise of hands, who has a cell phone within a foot of them right now? Exactly. We live and breathe through our cell phone devices anymore. And as you can see this chart, 96% of kids, 18 to 29-year-olds have a smartphone. And even those who are 65 and older, still you have 53% of them that have a smartphone device. They communicate on these, they read their news on these, they do get on all of their social media. This is part of life now. And with that, we really need to take social media and really focus on that to really get to those people where they are right now. So why should you as a nonprofit care about social media? Number one, it's inexpensive. We're all about the bottom line as nonprofits. And pretty much for most social media, it's free to join. You can do the premium. I know LinkedIn has like a premium account that you can pay for, but for the most part, it's free. And it is an avenue for you to get out and brag about yourself and get your message out to a large range of people. It also, like we said, has the immediate access to your donor base. They can comment. Like I said, we get communications, 10, 15 messages a day with people wanting to give. They have an animal that they need to, surrender. They found an animal. I mean, you name it. But if they can't get through on a phone or if they can't navigate your website, social media is a great avenue for them to immediately get a response from you, and then they feel that connection. Also, it gives you a little bit of controlled messaging. So I know as the Humane Society, we work with the news a lot on different things, and sometimes our whole story may not get out there, and some of you may have experienced the same thing, where we love being in the media, we love any time that they can celebrate some of our successes, but there may be bits and pieces that we still want to highlight. And through social messaging and social or controlled messaging, you can do that on your social media accounts and really get everything out that you want to your donor base. And then also, it's easy frequency. They were talking earlier, it takes 7 times for anybody to even notice your message. This is a great way to get out there and continually post so that you can get your message out there and get that frequency so that people remember who you are. So this is a little bit of an overwhelming graph, but I wanted to show you guys this because this is all the different, well, it's not all of them, there's plenty more, but these are some of the main social media platforms that are out there right now. And I want you guys to really think about your audience base. Do you work mainly with seniors? Are you dealing with at-risk youth? What platforms should you guys be using? Facebook, yes, is pretty much the king of all social media, but if you are targeting somebody in that 18 to 29 year range, you may want to be doing something with YouTube. But if you're going for somebody who's more of a senior, they're on Facebook, but they're also on YouTube and Pinterest. So what can you as a nonprofit be doing to get where your audience is? And that's something that you need to think about. You don't have to be everywhere. It's overwhelming if you try to be everywhere because there's just so much content out there, and trying to do different content on 10 different platforms, nobody has time for that. So really think about your audience and think about how they use social media and how you can use it to get in front of them on their phones. So why do your donors care about social media? One of the main things is it gets them excited about your nonprofit, and it reaffirms to them why they are supporting your nonprofit. And we're all about the building of the relationships. And again, I'll go more into that in a couple slides here. But by strengthening that connection with your donor through stories and mission moments, those are all building up that trust of them going, yep, that's why I support you guys. And that's exactly why I want to brag about you and tell and become advocates for you, because I see all the great work that you're doing. So how do you elevate that donor experience? The big question of the day. One of the major things is developing that trust. So as nonprofits, I feel like a lot of us, it's difficult for us to brag about ourselves. And you all have to learn how to do, again, I call it passive bragging, where it may not be like, hey, look at us, we're amazing, but it's, we just went out into the community and supported this. It's just basically letting them know and informing your donor base what you're doing so that they can go, okay, that's where my money's going. That's where, that's why I'm connected to you, and that's why I'm doing this kind of work. Also, being transparent is huge. Don't give them a blanket number of we need to raise $10,000 and then that's it. If we have an emergency case like an animal, go and break it down and say, we had a kitten come in that needs life-saving surgery and it's going to cost $2,347. And then we have this rehabilitation that's going to cost $4,000, and give them the exact numbers so that they can see this is a direct need and a direct impact. And even if they give just $50, that $50 goes to that overall cause. But it's being very transparent with them, and then they can see exactly where their money is going. And then a side note to that, if you do a campaign like that, make sure and give them closure. So if you save a kitten's life and they all help contribute, then give them a story afterwards and say, you helped save this animal's life, and show them that after photo. It's compelling, and it will just draw them in and make them just reaffirm their commitment to you. Again, reminding them why to give, it's kind of the same thing. And really, the main thing that I want all of you to get out of this is look at your nonprofits through your donors' eyes. A lot of times we look at it as, this is information we want to share. We think you guys would be beneficial for you to know. But a lot of times they don't care. It's a bunch of stats and numbers that we find impressive because we work there, but they don't care. So look at those stories and look at what is compelling to them and what is motivating to them, and frame your communications on social media to highlight those areas. And then also tell a compelling story, and I'll touch that a little bit later. But yes, the Sarah McLachlan thing, we get it a lot. And I too changed the channel. So there is a fine line there about tugging on their heartstrings and just being overly emotional where they shut you out. So you have to kind of walk that fine line to really tell your story in a compelling way, but in a way that motivates them to give rather than to shut it off because it's too much. So at the Humane Society, yes, it's easy for us because we have adorable animals. I mean, you can't go wrong with animals. So here are just a few ways that we do a little bit of passive bragging. So up at the top, you see a picture of a rabbit. That is Wilson, and he is actually available for adoption right now if anybody's looking for a rabbit. So we do things a lot like that where we just highlight the animal and just kind of show these are available animals that are up for adoption. It reaffirms that we are trying our hardest to find all types of animals homes, but it also just gives another touch point that's not an ask for our donor base. Up in the top middle, that is one of our humane agents. She was rescuing 9 cats from a storage unit that were locked there on a hot summer day. And so that was one of our bragging points where we weren't asking for money, but it was because of you, we were able to save these 9 cats. And it all goes back to that donor-centric language. You want everything to be not we did this, it's because of you we did this. And really look at it through their eyes. They want to be the superhero. They want to be motivated to give and support and know that they are making an impact. And so really just stay you focused and do that in a braggy, passive way. So the big picture here is something that we do every Friday, which I still have to do because I've been here. But we highlight all of the animals that got adopted. And every week it starts with, it was a fantastic week. Thank you for sharing their stories about Wilson and all the other animals. Thank you for adopting. Thank you for everything that you did. Because of you, 68 animals found a home this week. And we actually then go through and list every single animal. So even if they had a connection to Wilson and they shared Wilson's story, they can see immediately Wilson found a home that week. And it gives them that touch point and that good feeling of that could have been because of me. Down in the bottom, which I'll show again later, that was a before and after of 2 horses that we saved. And again, it was because of you, we were able to go into this community and save these 2 horses. Because of you, we were able to give them the rehabilitation they needed. And because of all of you, look at them now. So it wasn't an ask. It was more of a success story of one of our programs. The bottom left middle one, I guess, one of the things that we did, I know we were all struggling. We've all had a tough few months with the tornadoes and then the shooting in the Oregon district. And like many organizations, we all came in that Monday after the shooting and we're like, what can we do? What can we do for our community? We don't want to highlight what our organization is doing. It seems trivial right now at this moment for our community. So we actually we took a puppy and a kitten down to the Oregon district and just let people hug on them. And what we did with that was we shared it to our Facebook page, and it wasn't a brag or anything like that. Well, it was kind of a brag, but it wasn't an ask. It was more of, we are here for you, and thanks to all of your support, we are able to comfort our community when they need us. Again, I know it's easier to do when you have animals, but even if you highlight your volunteers, like we have a volunteer here who helps socialize cats, highlighting your volunteers reaffirms to your donors that there are other people committed to your organization. Tell their stories and tell the reasons why those volunteers are giving their time and energy to support your cause. It's a great way to kind of give another voice to your organization without you just saying, hey, look, we have 300 volunteers or whatever it is. It makes it more personal. So I talked earlier about making your words compelling. And I'm going to read you two different things here. The first one says, "We rescued 2 horses from an abusive situation today. They are safe now, but they'll need quite a bit of rehabilitation to recover." It says all the facts, but does that really motivate you in any way, shape, or form? I mean, yes, the photos are there and they are compelling, but if you take that language and think about it, and this is kind of that walking the fine line between Sarah McLachlan and tugging at a heartstring, and just be a little bit more descriptive with your language to your donors. So this is, the bottom one is actually the first paragraph of one of the posts that we did. And it says, "Weak, malnourished, 2 walking skeletons. This is how the Humane Society of Greater Dayton's humane agent found Luke and Ike, 2 senior Percheron horses. You could run your hands across their sides and feel every rib, every bone in their fragile bodies." That is, you can visualize that even without the photos. Like I get goosebumps. This happened 3 years ago and I still get goosebumps about it, because the words and the language that you use are powerful, and you have to remember that when you're talking to donors. And again, this wasn't an ask to them. This was just this is what we're doing thanks to your help. And look at these animals and their story, and we were able to save them. And this was before we even had an after photo at this point when we first wrote this. So really think about your words and tell your story, but make it compelling. All right. So again, keep your words donor-centric. Your donor wants to feel like your superhero. He wants, every time they open up their phone, they want to go, "Oh, man, I did good work today because I give to them, and look at all the stuff that they're doing." So that pride is something that you want your donor not to feel once, but continually. And so really, again, it goes back to the frequency of it all. Posting time and time again about what you're doing and doing that passive bragging. Every time you do that and your donor sees it, they then go, "Yep, that's why I give." And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm a big fan of his. He's an entrepreneur and a marketing genius. I highly recommend him, but he does have a very foul mouth, so if you're sensitive to that, maybe not. But he actually wrote a book, and it stuck with me. It was called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it's something I think as nonprofits we really need to think about. He was constantly saying there's so many companies and nonprofits out there, they're constantly right hooking. They're constantly just punching you with ask after ask after ask. Your donors are going to become exhausted, and then everything is going to become white noise. So when you're doing that passive bragging and you're saying, "Look what we're doing, look what we're doing," but not asking, those are all those little jabs just saying, "Hey, we're here and you're helping us, thank you." And then when you really need them in that moment, that's when you give them the right hook, and they already have that trust built in with you and see all the other work that you're doing, and you've been transparent with them, so they will feel more motivated and more inclined to give when you really need them in that moment. Again, don't use I and we. Always use you language. It's a kind of a go-to for nonprofits, but just something to always keep in your mind when you're writing anything. Thanking and being grateful and appreciative to your donor base, and saying that, again, this is all about them. You want to put the spotlight on them, not on you. And again, let them feel good. They love to feel good. We all do. Who doesn't? So let them feel good and let them have that moment. And secondly, make it easy for them. We are all about convenience, like they were talking about earlier. You can do everything from your phone now. You can donate, you can order dinner, you can do anything from your phone pretty much anymore. So make giving easy to them. Facebook has really upped their fundraising game. They actually give 100% of the proceeds to the nonprofit that's being, the fundraiser is in, or the fundraiser is for. So if you have a compelling post and it is an ask, As an admin on Facebook, you'll see a little thing that says add donate button, add it. As long as you are set up with Facebook, which doesn't take too long to do, people will be moved and then they can immediately give. Most people already have their credit cards hooked in with Facebook for all of the other different things that they are connected with. So it takes them seconds, and you can see great results in just adding a simple donate button to a post. If you don't want to, because there is a downside to that, which we struggle with at the Humane Society, and I know a few others that I've talked to have as well. It's when they give through Facebook, you have no way of thanking them. You don't get their addresses, you can't send them a thank you letter. So there is a struggle there with giving the appreciation to those people that are giving through Facebook. If you don't feel comfortable doing the Facebook's donate page, then just give a direct link to that donation page on your website. Make it as simple as possible. Don't give them your generalized website and then they have to navigate through 6, 7 different pages to get to the donate page, because most likely they're going to get frustrated and you lost them. Give a direct link to your donate page. Ours is hsdayton.org/donate. It goes straight to our donate page. Make it simple and easy for them. And also be clear with what you need. Don't give them 20 different calls to action. Don't say, you know, if you give $5, they can do this, but if you want to volunteer, then you could do this. It's muddying the waters. If you have $10,000 that you need to raise to save this cat, say, I have $10,000 I need to raise to save this cat, and I need you to do it. It's clear, it's to the point, but it is also, they understand what the final goal is. And again, give them a goal. So there you go. And then have a clear call to action with it, which again, just be compelling in what you say, but clear in what you need. I think that's one of the biggest things to take home from this. So that is it for me, but do you guys have any questions? No questions? Yes?
You talked about
how many posts per day?
It varies. We typically do, what do you say, Lauren, like 3, 4 posts a day? It's easier for us because we have an entire building full of adoptable animals, so we can do those. But we have been known in the past for Giving Tuesday. I mean, we gave a heads up to everybody, we're posting every 15 minutes for 24 hours. And it was, here is impact story after impact story, here is why we need your help. And it was a lot for one day. Yes.
So if I was following that page, I might stop following what I saw.
Yes. Well, and that's where you have to communicate with them ahead of time. If we did not communicate, then we would have probably lost a lot of people that day. But leading up to that day, we said, bear with us. This is one day only, but this is why we are doing this. This is why it's so important. We want to get this in front of as many people as we can, and we hope you'll share it and support it for just this one day.
You have the advantage, of course, of having opportunities. My other question is unrelated to, but do you use it at all for donor acknowledgement, like large donor corporate acknowledgement?
We do. It varies. Some corporations, they don't want that, but we do use it a lot for, we have a huge 5K that we do every year, and one of the perks that we give to some of them is you will get Facebook recognition, and it's in front of 85,000 people. So that's a benefit to them that they see, and we do a post that says, hey, shout out to Petco Foundation for supporting this year's event, and we'll tag them in it as well. So yeah, we definitely use it to highlight those corporations and larger gifts that we get for that. And even grants too. Sometimes with grants we even do that. Yes?
quick follow-up on the first question. What was your ROI on the Giving Tuesday approach?
We raised, I believe it was like $23,000 that day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that higher than years past?
Yes. Yes.
2 questions. How did you go from 4 to 85? What was your strategy. And then do you use a platform to organize? I'm not a marketing person, but I'm pretty sure there's like softwares out there that help you organize. And so maybe speak a little bit about it.
Sure. So strategy to get from 4,300 to 85,000. It was a lot of, first off, auditing our Facebook page. When I first started there, we had like 12 to 15 admins. We had volunteers, we had former employees. I mean, it was crazy the amount of people that we had that could potentially be posting to our page. We really did an audit of it and looked at it and said, we need one clear voice as an organization to give that consistency to our community and our donors. And with that, we took most of them off of our admin and really focused on just having one or two of us doing all of the communications on it. Through that, it was, again, we did do some advertising back in the day, probably 5 years ago. Advertising on Facebook was a lot more successful than it is now, just because a lot of people do it, so it's kind of getting clouded with that. And we did do that a lot there in the beginning. Was a huge growth spurt for us. But it's really just that communications piece, and the frequency, I would say, is key. I mean, I have people that they would post once a week, and nobody's going to see that. I mean, how quickly do things get buried on a Facebook page? If you're not looking at it immediately, there's a good chance people aren't seeing it. So that frequency and time of day that you post, the day that you post, all of that makes an impact. And also look at your insights and your analytics on social media, because it will actually tell you in your analytics, people are most likely looking at your page at 9 p.m. on Thursdays. Okay, 9 p.m. on Thursdays. Well, that makes sense. People are at home, kids are in bed, they're just sitting there scrolling on their phone. So if I need a post that's going to make an impact, I should post it around 9 p.m. on a Thursday, because that's where I'm going to get the most bang for my buck. So really understanding your analytics, and then really understanding your donors and what is interesting to them. In the beginning, there was a lot that I did where I did a couple polls, like, do you guys want to see animals finding their forever homes, or do you want to see more success stories? Ask your base that you already have. They'll let you know, but see where you're getting the most interactions and kind of format your wording to give more of that to your base. Your second question, I've looked through a lot of different programs. I've used Hootsuite a lot because it does have the capability of doing Instagram. I mean, it does all of them, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it. Right now, I'm really liking one called Sendable, because you can actually go in, schedule posts for Instagram and Facebook, but you can have a general post, but then you can actually go in and then change the photos out for Facebook and Instagram, have the same messaging, but it looks different. So I personally really like that one. And again, it does all the different platforms as well. Yes?
Branding, do you stay true to your logo, or are you using memes as well?
We tend to stay true to our branding, I would say 90 to 95% of the time. Every once in a while, we'll throw in a little meme, but it'll still have our logo on it. It's stuff that we've done in-house. If it's Taco Tuesday, we'll put a taco costume on a cat, and we'll do something kind of fun with that, but it'll still say, like, this cat's up for adoption at the Humane Society, and it's still branded, and the phrasing and the words and everything are very consistent with what we do. Yes?
I'm curious about, I went to your website where you were talking. Sorry, I like to check in so I know what the website's about. And I see one on here about wine and whiskers, and it says, is that the Schuster Performing Arts Center?
Yes.
Do you guys get your donations at that point, and are you paying the Schuster Center to use the facility?
Yes, we are, correct? Yes.
Okay.
I have my event person here with me.
Okay. I just want to know, because I want to know, is that taking up all your donations, though, what you're receiving, and what kind of response do you get?
So we budget. We have 3 major fundraising events a year. We have a 5K in May, a golf outing in August, and our gala event at the Schuster Center here coming up in 2 weeks. So we budget accordingly so that in our overall budget as a nonprofit, we know that we're going to have to pay for the venue, and we know certain costs. I mean, most of our events we've been doing almost 30 years now, so we have some expected budgeted costs that are going to come with it. And then we make a goal on top of that. So here is how much it's going to cost us to do this event. Here's how much we want to raise so that we still have a big impact, even though we have to pay for some of these other things to make that possible.
What kind of response are you getting?
What do you mean?
For like this type of event?
That is one of our largest events. Are you talking like just like how much is raised for the event?
Like participation.
Oh, got you. So that event usually is sold out. We have about 300, it's a special event. It's a dinner with your pets. So we have about 350 people and about 150 animals inside the Schuster Center. And it sold out last year, and we're on the way to selling it out again this year. Our 5K event, we have about 2,000 people in attendance for it. It's one of the largest ones in the Miami Valley. So, I mean, we're definitely getting responses for each of the events. Yes?
You mentioned the boosted posts don't get as much traction as they used to, but how do you find you're still helpful? When do you use them? When don't you use them? The second question is...
I didn't hear the first part of that one, I'm sorry.
Boosted posts. You
Yes.
mentioned that they used to get more traction, maybe not as much anymore, but do you still use them? If so, how? The second question, Twitter for the average nonprofit organization, we did it for a while, but didn't get near as much traction as Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, we do not have that much traction on Twitter as well. It's our main things that we use are Facebook and Instagram, because those are the big popular ones right now. Twitter we use a lot with communicating with news organizations. News organizations use it a lot, so we kind of, that's our main communication with that platform. Boosted posts, we do boosted posts still. We don't do as many, just because 5 years ago we did a lot of advertising, like actual advertising, not just boosted posts, which are two different things. And we've seen this huge growth spike because of the advertising, but now that everybody else is doing it, it's kind of leveled out. So I think it's more of just a saturation thing. And if we do want to do a boosted post, we think very methodically about what we are trying to do with that post. So if it is a specific thing or a specific event, who do we want to go to that event, and make it a very targeted boosted post, which is a really cool thing that Facebook offers, which I will mention. I mean, I could do a post tomorrow for people who live in Centerville, own dogs, drive a Subaru, and have an income level of 50,000 or higher. Like, you could get very, very specific with your targeting. And with boosted posts, that's what I would recommend doing, is being very strategic with it, because every penny counts for a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? No? All right, well, I'll be here the rest of the day, guys. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to come grab me, and I'm happy to answer any questions for anybody. Thank you. And I'm not sure, I think they're doing a break now. Wait for it, break? Okay, let's take a break, guys. We're going with it.